You can see I brought a unit of Agrarians back. They don't get there in time. On the plus side, I have completely won this battle, and most of my units are not really that badly injured. One unit of Ptyroi is about half strength, a little more than that, and the other unit of Ptyroi is basically at full strength. So I still have most of my cavalry. The Agrarians actually do manage to trap his Scythian nobles over here, and he doesn't get a good charge in, and loses quite a few of them, so that was really great. Really worked out really well for me. Over on this side, the Ptolemy managed to get an advantage in the cavalry battle. Arhus gets a little too overzealous, and he sends his cavalry out unsupported. And you can see how TCV uses his Galatians in close support of his cavalry. And basically, this turns into a huge slaughter of the Ypres cavalrymen. They're completely surrounded and being hacked in on all sides. In the meantime, some of the Ypres units, as well as both my Throfor units, are routing over here. You can see the Pontic heavy cavalry coming in for some nasty charges over here. They break this unit of Pezatyroi. They break the Levy phalanx. And I send one of my cavalry units in, they finally get back. I get a decent charge over here. Kill a couple units, but that doesn't work out too well for them because they're the only unit in there. So they have to run away. And that ends up weakening the deal. And you can see all my phalanxes died. And at this point in the battle, Shaq basically said that he got complacent because he thought he'd won. As you can see, he's completely destroyed my main line, and the Ypres players lost most of his cavalry. But a couple things happened over here that turned the tide. First of all, the Ptolemy general ends up pursuing and gets caught by these Longophori Hepis. You can see he stupidly decides to raise his sword, and he's about to get killed. There's going to be a movie that plays. Yep, there we go. So he dies. So that hurts the Ptolemy morale. And then Shaq doesn't really send all his units to one task. Instead, what he probably should have done was just brought all these units over here and just fell upon the exposed Ypres flank. Because if Ypres loses their line, then that's pretty much game over. But he sends some units to do that. He sends a couple units out in pursuit. He sends a few units over here to sort of ward off my cavalry and my returning infantry. You can see a whole bunch of my returning infantry over here. They had chased away some archers. These Lugoi kept going after the archers and got slaughtered really badly. But the rest of them are returning to the battle. And so here I come, hoping to fall upon the Pontic player before he can take out the Ypres player. And Arhus does a really good job here of surviving, basically. He manages to get these units around the flank here. TCV, I don't know if he became complacent as well, but doesn't really maneuver his cavalry effectively all that quickly. And I mean, here comes in a pretty good charge of these Agama cavalry. It's not quite enough to throw out the Throfor. And now you can see over here, my Ptyroi charging in. I lost the Illyrian Ptyroi, but you can see a lot of my units are regrouping. And he had actually accidentally sent his captain's unit out here on pursuit. And you'll see the bad effect that has. Anyway, he's chasing after my Ptyroi. I get them through this unit of Lugoi, who managed to damage his cavalry. And these Cornell Orca peel off sort of flank, and really all he's got here is Akon Pistai along with his cavalry and a couple of Eastern Axemen. So I line my cavalry up over here and get in a pretty good charge. And that causes a rout of a couple of his units. You can see them start to rout. It also really weakens the last cavalry the Pontic player had. And now the Pontic player isn't even helping the flank anymore. He's just doing his job to hold off. And you can see his captain out here. His captain and his unit of Galatian wildmen, his two probably most important units, are now being pinned down by my guys returning to the battle. And he's killing some of them and routing some of them again. But they're not over here supporting his men, which is what he needs. You can see his cavalry running away. More of my infantry is returning. I had a lot of infantry. This is a full unit of Agrarian assault infantry. I don't think Shaq realized that I had this much infantry spread out all over here that I could pull back into the battle. And I think that's why he became complacent. You can see my Tyroi charging into this reforming unit of Eastern Axemen that I want to do back. And then over here, his captain's exposed on this side, and this phalanx is pushing in on his flank. And he's about to die. And that's going to be a really tough blow to the Ponic player. Over here, basically a status quo. There we go, there's the death of that guy. This phalanx is still working on the Tyroi. The Ptolemy player has basically cleaned up all his supporting infantry over here. I completely forgot about these Thoropheroi units during the battle, but they actually played a decent role. Not necessarily at the end, but they played a decent role holding that flank for the Ypres player for a little bit longer than he would have otherwise. The Ypres player also sort of lost his Thracian elites trying to help me out, so it was sort of a mix. Anyway, he sends over some cavalry to help, and I need to rout one of my units, but it's only unit of Lugolai. And I've routed almost all his infantry here. He's got some archer units still wandering around, but he's lost his captain. He ends up losing his Galatian Wildmen over here, getting outnumbered and tag teamed. And what appeared to be a pretty rousing victory for the Ponic player is now turning into defeat. And Shaq was a little upset because he basically thought he'd won, and he was wondering, and he was a little upset with himself, I would say. Anyway, the Ypres player is still holding on. These elite phalanx are really nasty, and they're really tough to kill, especially towards the end of battles when cavalry are exhausted and tired, and they can't really form good charges anymore. And he doesn't have quite enough. He has more assault infantry, more support infantry, I should say, than the Ypres player, but he's still cleaning up a little bit over here. And now you can see I'm sort of falling upon him. There's a pretty big charge by the Tyroi. This unit, Thoropheroi, is sort of throwing in here in guard mode a last-ditch hope, but they're getting hit by Cornet Orc on the front and Agrianians on the side, both of which are closer at full strength, and they're going to rout soon. And so I move my Tyroi over, of which there are still some left to help. Now all throughout this, he lost his units of Phosphoran heavy archers at the beginning on that other side over here, out in that battlefield there. But he still had two others. One of them I had chased because they were on skirmish mode all the way out to the corner, and they managed to sort of deke my Thoropheroi and come back. And then he's got this unit over here, and he's starting to fire missiles into my flank. But it's not quite quick enough. The Thoropheroi are holding out very nobly. They're doing a great job of that, but they're not going to hold out for much longer. And you can see he's starting to get a good flanking in on this phalanx, but it's not enough. It's too little too late at this point. The Ptolemy player does not have enough units to hold the line. My units are swarming in here. I've broken the Thoropheroi. I still have a cavalry unit. See them running around. And so the Ptolemy do still have cavalry as well, but it's not enough at this point. You can see he tries to pick off my captain. He's looking for a rout. Maybe if he kills my captain, a couple more units will rout, but he doesn't quite get the kill. And then I bring in the Lugolai to help support against his cavalry. See these Cretan archers out here that killed off all the horse archers are returning. So my infantry is still sort of marching in from the back, just working on the hoplites now. They're going to die soon enough to be pressed by spears in the front, and axes and big swords in the back. And then Cornet Orca really are probably my favorite unit in the game, at least as far as infantry goes. They really just destroy shit. It's not even funny. They're expensive as hell, but they're great. And you can see this unit of Hoplite breaks. He's got the elites in the back here with the heavy swordsmen. But here I'm coming in for a charge, and I'm going to break them. And basically, once the unit of heavy swordsmen breaks, and by extension the Galatian Wildmen also break, that's basically the end of the game. You can see he's still running his archers around. Still hoping to get in some kills with the archers, fire into my backs of my men. But this unit of Throwfroy finally returns, and the Axemen are in the front, and they end up hitting the archers in between them. And even Bosford and the archers won't stand for this. And you can see them start to run, and then break. Okay. This is basically a mop-up operation at this point. Shaq was trying to micro these archers around. I finally find my unit Throwfroy and hit his heavy cavalry over here. I'm not really sure what he was doing with this heavy cavalry. I think he forgot them. He goes in for a charge on these guys, and he turn to meet him. And basically, the morale bonus is having your men thinking that they've won the battle, which I assume you get if you have a certain proportion of troop numbers or troop quality, whatever the odds bar measures. If you have it high enough, your men get some sort of ridiculous morale bonus in which they basically say, "Oh, you've won the battle already." So let me see if I can actually find it on these guys. Glad to see enemy routing. That's morale bonus. Unhappy over taking casualties. Don't look at that. Glad to have general unit. Glad to see enemy routing. Yada yada yada. Need to find a unit that's not near anyone routing, and they're unhappy due to exhaustion. There's a lot of morale factors in the game, some of which are more obvious than others, and learning what they are and how to use them against your enemy is a good way to learn how to play multiplayer really effectively online. Morale and how to manipulate units' morale is probably the most important determinant in winning battles. You can kill only 4 or 5 units in a unit, or 4 or 5 men in a unit, and still actually rout them, and that work is done for you. So, yep, and you can see how it looked like the Ponic and the Ptolemy player were winning, and eventually we persevere. It wasn't a pretty victory, but we do manage to win. Here's the last unit of Ptolemaic heavy cavalry charging in. You can see my men engaging them. They run back. And basically this is the end of the battle. I'll show you the last charge of these guys. I guess he was hoping that some of his infantry would reform, but there we go. Brave men. Get a bunch of kills. Belanger's running, open the spear. Okay, so the battle goes on for another minute or so. There's a couple units out here and there. But this was a really fun battle. A lot of fun fighting it. I know Shaq was a little angry at himself. He thought that he had the battle won, and he did a really good job actually of duping me. And if he'd been a little more decisive in what he wanted to do with the remainder of his forces, they probably would have won the battle. I don't doubt that at all. So it was a good game to my opponents. Shaq and TCV did a very good job. They very nearly came away with the victory in this one. And a very good game to Aros. He's just started playing EB Online, and he's doing a great job. You can see he did a very good job against the Ptolemy player there, a very experienced player in TCV. So hope to have some more battles uploaded soon, and see you guys next time.